Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this 65th episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests in this episode include singer, songwriter, producer, many other things as well, Bertie Higgins, got a brand new single, The Flag's on Fire. We'll also visit with country singer and songwriter Mary Heather Hickman about her new single, Treasure. We'll also visit with Harvey and Juwan Mass from Ghost Brothers, as the new series Ghost Brothers Lights Out is now available on Discovery+. And we'll also visit with new country singer Mark Nicholson, his debut solo single, Natural Born Lover. Of course, if you would, please take the time to subscribe, comment, leave some feedback, check out the shop, and share with your friends. You reach a certain age when you really stop paying attention to fashion and just keep on wearing what you've got until the end. But that's become the newest fashion statement. Grandpa style is apparently hot right now with people in their 20s. They're wearing unique vintage clothes, random colors, and everything else you might see on a senior citizen with a strong fashion sense, but one that's frozen in time. One fashion expert says grandpa style is so appealing because, quote, it looks so effortless and fresh because it's such a different view of style and fashion. I'm a child of the 80s, and one of the first songs that really stuck out in my head was done by this guy. We've got a new single to talk about as well. Bertie Higgins on the line with us, and first off, Bertie, thank you so much for your time.
Cameron, it's my pleasure, man. It's good to talk to you.
Now, we'll start out talking about the new single, The Flag's on Fire. And Bertie, 2021 and 2020 being what they were, I think it was a perfect time for this one. And tell us a little bit about the process behind the song as well.
Well, several years ago, they were burning the American flag over in the Mideast, and it really angered me, man. So I wrote this song quite some time ago, and we did a recording of it, but we remastered and added some mixing and decided to release it now.
And for you, obviously a patriot at heart, and how important is it for you right now to not only have songs that entertain, but also that tell a story, however you want to put that as well?
Well, I rarely do that, but this situation was very important to me. And I'm a veteran, and my whole family's a family of veterans, lost my brother in Vietnam. But I'm telling you, man, I just couldn't tolerate it. I can't believe there's been no legislation to make this illegal. I mean, when I was growing up, you never dropped the flag on the ground, and there were specific honorisms that you gave to the flag. How this has changed, I have no idea. I thought now was an appropriate time to release the song.
You talked about, and I can remember the times that you're talking about the reverence that you had for the flag. And when do you think this cycle started, Bertie?
Well, I think a lot of things have gotten worse, but I don't want to get into a bunch of politics here. But I'm very concerned about the situation on the border, our south border, very concerned. But, man, I believe that with this pandemic and all this other crap going on, we have enough to worry about. There's a lot going on out there. But I'm sure that the good Lord will take care of all of us eventually.
Right. Now, Bertie, for you being a songwriter and so many other things, working in film as well, what has helped you maybe mentally and emotionally survive all of the onslaught of emotional stuff that's been thrown our way this last year?
Well, when it comes to songwriting, I've written 250 songs. During this pandemic, for some reason, I've had a writer's block, but I just started writing 2 days ago. I've got 50 song ideas outlined on my computer, and I just couldn't finish one of them. But all of a sudden, the old thing kicked me in the butt, and here we go again. So I'm starting to finish up some of these ideas now. It's been an incredible run I've had. I don't ever claim to be a superstar. I'm just a singer-songwriter that has worked hard and got lucky. And I believe that where you live and how you live and has a lot to do with it, and who you surround yourself with. And I only try to surround myself with positive people. In other words, you can't live in Tarpon Springs, Florida, or where you're at in Oklahoma, and expect a major producer to come walking in the door and sign you to a deal. You got to give up something. You got to go to where it's going on, and that's either L.A., Nashville, Atlanta, Miami, New York, those places, which are not easy to live in. I did spend the last 14 years in Burbank, California, and started making movies, but I've currently moved back to my hometown of Tarpon Springs, Florida, which was a culture shock because there's really no one in town I can sit and talk over the professional end of the music business. Most of these guys are playing in bars, which I did in the beginning, which I will not do again. But my wife in L.A. said, I want to go back to Tarpon and hang out with my girlfriends. And I said, okay. So we shipped the cars back, loaded up on a plane, and came back. But here I am.
Now, many accolades over the years, and sticks out about being knighted, being members of the Hall of Fame, and getting an honorary doctorate. And Bertie, break that all down. What's that truly mean to you on a personal side?
Well, when I was knighted, I take these things seriously. I mean, when I ran into Gordon Lightfoot, one of my heroes on the set of The Tonight Show one time, he said, Bertie, don't forget we must do what we must do to help the young along. So when people come to me and I give them all the advice I can give them from my experience, and I believe I take these honorariums that they've given me very seriously. When I was knighted, it was a goosebump situation. I mean, it really thrilled me. And then, of course, the doctorate from Hanover University in Germany in music thrilled me. And then I was inducted into the Florida Artists Hall of Fame, and that was a thrill, which gives me a brass plaque on the wall of the Rotunda in Tallahassee, along with Ernest Hemingway and Tennessee Williams and some pretty important people in the literary field. But it's been a great time. I've enjoyed this run that I've had, and it never ceases to amaze me. And every now and then I'll lay in bed at night and think about all the things I've been through, what I've done, where I've been. Like I was in China 8 times last year because I'm really popular there. How that happened, damned if I know, man. I have no idea.
You hadn't figured out the recipe, huh?
No, and recently I've fallen in love with the old group ABBA. You know who ABBA was from the 70s. Yeah. These guys wrote some great songs. So here I am reflecting back on that. Sometimes a little disco-y for me, but the majority of these tunes are well thought out, well produced, and well written. So here I've fallen in love with ABBA. Can you believe that?
It took you long enough.
Yeah, it took me long enough, didn't it, man?
He's like, have you heard about this new band?
Yeah, the new band ABBA. But I mean, Cat Stevens and Gordon Lightfoot, these guys have always been great inspiration for me. Gordon Lightfoot is just a great lyric writer. He's just wonderful. But now when he goes on stage and is older, he's still touring. He can't sing as well, so he does a lot of talking. In fact, I'm getting ready to do a venue this Saturday night, my second show this year, where he's performed a lot. And Bobby Rossi said a lot of people are walking out on the shows because he's talking too much. I don't know, man, but God bless him for still being out there.
Now, I know that you're working on your 26th album release as well, going to contain the Flags on Fire. And talk a little bit, Bertie, how much different the landscape looks as far as the music production as opposed to when you came in, and obviously now with all the technology. I mean, does the technology make it easier or harder for you?
Well, we no longer record on 2-inch reel-to-reel tape, but in ways it makes it a lot easier. In fact, I can co-write on my computer, or I can actually lay down vocals on my computer. I do all my tracks in Nashville, and they send them to me. And problem is coming up with the good original ideas, song ideas, because I believe it all lies in the basic song, because I'm a song guy. And, of course, as you know, the Great American Songbook is about dead. A lot of the stuff, I watched the Academy Country Music Awards last night, and I said, wait a minute. This is rock and roll. This isn't country anymore. So things are changing pretty rapidly, and you need to try to change with them. I hate to because I like the old school thing. But, me, I'm stubborn, but I eventually change,
Now, Bertie, for you, what you talked about the writer's block. What in the songwriting process is the hardest part for you, aside from the writer's block?
Well, I mean, the idea of the song. I always come up with a title, and I normally try to write the chorus first. But generally speaking, it's the same game. I try not to listen to a lot of current pop music because it's I lose direction when I listen to it. So it's, hey man, to write hit songs has always been difficult. And what are hits now sometimes evade my thinking. But thank God this year, my royalties have been tremendously big. I don't know why, because I'm not gigging. Nobody's gigging. My peers aren't going out there. So you got to keep the lights on somehow. But thank God my royalties have been very, very, very strong.
And how cool is that now because of streaming and all of the many different platforms folks can find the music, to see another generation with an appreciation of the music as well, Bertie?
Well, I think all the different platforms tend to embellish your royalties, as a songwriter, because the ultimate big royalties are in songwriting, especially if you write songs that go on forever. And Key Largo amazes me how it's still going so strong. And then, of course, the bigger song is a song called Casablanca internationally. I'll never forget when I was in the top 10 of in the charts in Billboard with Key Largo. My publisher, Bill Lowry out of Atlanta, said, "Bertie, you've got a major hit in the Pacific Rim." It didn't even dawn on me that I'd be over there touring so much. And I do love the Chinese people. I think I travel the world, strange places like Saudi Arabia. I did a tour, and the whole program is all the same. The people are basically the same no matter where you're at. All they want to do is feed their children, keep a roof over their heads, try to keep them educated, keep them alive and out of jail. And the problem I see around the world are the governments always have issues. I don't know, man, but mom and pop are the same everywhere.
That's right. Now, Bertie, if folks want to find more information about the Flags on Fire, the upcoming album, upcoming tour dates as well, what's the best place for folks to keep up with all that?
Just go to BertieHiggins.com. I've got a website we try to keep that up to date. And by the way, Jimmy Buffett's a good friend of mine. I keep changing my line of thought here, but believe me, go to BertieHiggins.com. That's a place to get it all.
All right. Well, Bertie, it has truly been a privilege to have the chance to spend some time with you today.
Well, I'm a saltwater boy, so I spend a lot of my time in the Gulf of Mexico because I live in a little Greek village called Tarpon Springs, and I was a sponge diver. This is a Greek sponge diving capital. I was a sponge diver in my early 20s, and I was a spear fisherman. My father taught me a lot about the ocean, but I love the Gulf of Mexico, especially the west coast of Florida. So there you go, man. That's what I do. Well, Cameron, God bless you, and my fans out there, God bless all of you. Take care of yourself. Get vaccinated. Put on your big man pants and go get a shot in your arm. You'll survive. Because I've gone through both of mine. Nothing happened except my right ear fell off last week. No, I'm kidding with you, man.
Now, if you want to be ripped and don't mind blatant false advertising, you're gonna love this. There's a product on sale right now on eBay for men. It's a silicone bodysuit that makes you look ripped. Now, it goes over your torso and gives you jacked arms, pecs, and abs, and I think it would probably work best if you wear it under your shirt. As realistic as they try to make these things look, I mean, it'd be pretty clear they're fake from up close, but if you want to rock it shirtless, more power to you, right? Now, if you're interested, you can find them selling on eBay for anywhere from $68 to $360. Our next guest, country singer and songwriter, spent some time in Arkansas and Texas, but we won't hold that against her anyway. Mary Heather Hickman with us today. And first off, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here talking with you.
Now, where did music for you originate? Who was the introducer of music to you in your life?
Yeah. So my dad was somebody that loved like traditional country music. So I kind of grew up listening to Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and Waylon Jennings, Loretta Lynn, like the very, very classic country. Willie Nelson's another one. And that's what my dad liked. My dad's side of the family is very musical. His father was, never went to Nashville or anything, but I never met him, but apparently was a pretty talented songwriter as well, and used to just have like stacks and stacks of papers of songs that he had written. A lot of my dad's brothers, he has a lot of them, also like play guitar and music. So I think that's probably where like my musical side came from. And then my mom also was like, she kind of listened to a lot of 90s country when I was growing up. So like Dixie Chicks and Sheryl Crow and, you know, those kind of people, Faith Hill. So I feel like I have like a good background of all types of country music, and I kind of draw inspiration from that. Both my parents were always super encouraging. When I started singing when I was really little, they have always encouraged me to keep pursuing it. My dad has always talked about the importance of, if you're going to be a singer, writing your own songs, learning how to play an instrument. That a lot of it to my parents for sure.
Most kids, as they go through their teenage years, they rebel against mom and dad. How did you rebel against classic and the 90s country? I mean, where was your rebellion?
I've rebelled in other ways besides just music. But yeah, I think I mainly, I would say maybe like the middle school years were like my more rebellious like years of music. I liked a lot of like Panic at the Disco and Avril Lavigne. Like I definitely went through like kind of like a punk phase maybe. But I always like kind of found myself drawn back to country music. And even when I was like listening to other types of music, I found myself really in like paying attention to the songwriting and like what the song was saying. Like that's something about Avril Lavigne that I always admired. And so even though she wasn't country, like I still was kind of like paying attention to those things that I think make country music so special. Because I think one thing that I do love about country is that a lot of the songs tell a story and they have something to say. And it's so heavy on like the lyrical importance. And I'm not saying melody is not important either, because obviously it is. But I do like, there is like, it's so much about what the song is saying in country music, other than, you know, more than just the song has a cool vibe or, you know, whatever. So
now, as a songwriter, where do you find your inspiration to write? And when did you write your first one?
Oh man, I've been writing like probably since before I even realized that I was. It's interesting. If I go like home to my parents' house, my mom used to make scrapbooks of like every year, like of my life, which is like kind of a lot, but like I have a lot of scrapbooks, like kind of detailing, and there's certain scrapbooks from when I was like 7 or 8, and it has like pages of things that I had written, like songs that I had written about my dog, or, you know, I obviously not really writing about like relationships or love at that point, but I think it just kind of shows that it's always been something that's natural to me. And even just creative writing, I used to love like making up my own stories and like writing my own books, that kind of stuff. So it's something I've always been doing, but kind of like honed in on it maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and really started, you know, trying to make sense of things and like make cohesive songs and all that. But I've definitely been doing it for a while.
Now, you talked about the songwriting. You got the new single Treasure, and where did this one come in from you?
Oh man. So this song is basically about like my bad taste in men. And I went through a breakup at the beginning of 2020, right around when the pandemic started. And my close friend, Stephanie Joyce, is also somebody that I frequently co-write with. And back during all the like pandemic stuff, we're neighbors. So we were still like kind of seeing, you know, social distancing, but right. Seeing each other. And we decided to take a quick trip down to Morro Bay, Arkansas, which is right outside of El Dorado, where I'm from. My grandma lives there. My dad has built like a little cabin, and it's just a nice place to kind of like go and get away from everything. Obviously there's no people around, so great place to go during a pandemic. And I asked Steph, I was like, hey, do you want to go and like spend a couple days, like just in the middle of nowhere and write some songs with me? And she, of course, was all about it. So we went. We were hanging out one night. I think we had made some margaritas at the time. And yeah, we were just like sitting there drinking margaritas. And we were just kind of like having some girl talk. She was like, are you ready to like date again? Do you think that you're going to date? And I was joking because I'm very like self-deprecating in my humor. And I was like, I don't know if I can be trusted today. I seem to just always pick like people that don't seem to work out. And so we were just drinking, having a good time, throwing out lines. And of course, the song is a little bit of an exaggeration. Like, I would hope that somebody is not dating somebody with like all of the worst qualities. Usually somebody has one or two, you know, everybody has their flaws and everything. But yeah, we were kind of like being silly and throwing out like crazy lines, seeing if we could one up each other on like what the next line was. So that's how those like verses came about. And then when it came time to write the hook of the song, I just came up with this line. Like, so I think I had said something about like finding trash and calling it treasure or something. And then it kind of shifted. We were talking more about it, and it was picking up trash and calling it treasure, and then picking up the tab and picking up, you know, just picking up different things. And it was a pretty fast write actually, which was nice. But I think that's because it just came from a place of like having a good time and being able to laugh at myself a little bit. So
Now, what is the most difficult part of the write for you? Is it coming up with the inspiration, or like I asked so many other folks, is it saying it's done and being able to walk away from it?
Yeah, I think the most difficult part for me is it's either ideas, but I usually have like a pretty good amount of ideas. Like I keep a list in my phone of things that I just throughout the week, I'm like, oh, like that could be kind of cool. Or somebody says something, I'll write it down. So I usually have like a list going. But I think that maybe the hardest part, like during the write, is just kind of like powering through and like not getting stuck. Cause like, I think there's certain times where it's like, oh, that line's not quite perfect. And I try to just like push myself to keep moving, because you can always go back and edit. But sometimes if you let yourself get stuck, it's hard to like keep moving forward. So that's probably the most difficult part for me, is just not being too overly critical during the process, because you know, it's a process. You can go back and fix things later. It doesn't have to be perfect right away, but I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist sometimes. So.
Now, what's been the biggest challenge? Has it been the Zoom co-writes? What's been the biggest challenge of 2020, early 2021?
Yeah, the Zoom co-writes were weird at first, because I think a lot of people in Nashville at least would agree. Like sometimes it's just, you get a good song just from like the vibe in the room and everybody's having a good time or whatever. So it was definitely a weird shift. But I think after doing it a couple times, everybody sort of got the hang of it. For me, the hardest part of this year has just been not being able to play as many shows, because I love writing songs, and that's definitely like my number one passion is songwriting. But I also love getting to go out and play those songs for people and getting their feedback and getting to see that they maybe relate to that. So for me, that has been the most difficult part. I've been lucky enough in the past few months where it's kind of getting safer to go out and play shows. But before the pandemic happened, I was, doing some big shows where there would be a couple thousand people there, all like gathered up at the front of the stage and singing along. And it's weird that is things look a little different now, but I hope soon we'll maybe be able to get back to something like that. So
now it looked like your guitar kind of slid over to you when you were talking about it too.
It's like ready to be back on the stage.
Now, what's the biggest thing about playing that you miss? Is it the come up to the stage? Is it just coming in the back door? What the setup? What is it that you miss most about the performance?
Yeah, I think it's just for me, it's like I'm still kind of in the process of building like my fan base. And so meeting people is so important to me. And also just like the people that do follow me, like I want to be able to go out and like personally thank them and, like hear their stories. I love it when people come up to me and they're like, I love this song because of this reason. Like it relates to me because this happened to me. So I love getting to like hear the personal stories. And yeah, I haven't been able to do that quite as much. So I think it's more of the interaction with people because, I can do a virtual concert in my apartment
Right.
here and play songs for people and all that. And that's still very fun, but I don't get that, connection, the human connection that is my favorite part of playing.
That's right. Well,
Saying something.
was the new single, is that what you wanted to play for us today?
Yeah, absolutely. I will we'll play that one for you. It's one of my favorite ones to play. So for sure. Y'all, are you ready for me to play it now?
I'm ready.
All right. He looks like he's bad news. 6'5" with a couple tattoos, smoking habit and a drinking problem. Sounds like he's my Prince Charming. Blames his on his checkered past, like a DUI from his last 3 laps. If you spent a couple nights in county jail, somebody gave me a wedding bail. I can't change them, can't fix them, but dang, I sure can pick them. Pick up the tab when they ain't got a dime. Picking up problems that ain't even mine. Picking them up even though I know better. I'm just picking up trash and calling it treasure. I'm picking up trash and calling it treasure. I tried making nice with the yes ma'am types, the kind I know my mama likes. But I like good times, not good manners, so I go on back to my low standards. And pick up the tab when they ain't got a dime. Picking up problems that ain't even mine. Picking them up even though I know better. I'm just picking up trash and calling it treasure. I'm picking up trash and calling it treasure. Too many shot of whiskey doers, the prescription pill abusers. I always seem to choose them and pick up the tab when they ain't got a dime. Picking up problems that ain't even mine. Picking them up even though I know better. I'm just picking up trash and calling it treasure. I'm picking up trash and calling it treasure. Change them, I can't fix them, but dang, I sure can pick them.
That's good stuff right there, Mary.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, who are the songwriters that inspire you? Or maybe it's the singer-songwriters that really inspire you that are out there right now.
Absolutely. A huge influence of mine is Brandy Clark. I think so talented. Just love the way that she twists phrases and does kind of tongue-in-cheek songwriting, very clever songwriting. Mm-hmm. So she's a big influence. That's a current person. Haley Witters is another one. Jason Isbell, is another big one. I think that he I love the way I listened to an interview with him, and he said that he likes to go through his songs, find cliches and take them out and or flip them in a cool way so that he doesn't have any sort of cliche phrases in his song. And I think that's something that has inspired me to kind of go through mine and try to do that as well. Or if I am using a cliche, to use it in an unexpected way or something new. And then as far as older songwriting influences, Bobby Gentry is a huge one. I think her sound is so cool. And it was so amazing at the time that she had such a unique sound and wrote all of her own songs. Sorry, I have a lot of women influences, clearly. Johnny Cash is another one, Willie Nelson. But definitely I like a lot of the women, the songwriters for sure.
Now, what have you spent the most time honing in on this last year? I mean, has it been the songwriting or actually in the instrumentation? Is it vocal or the guitar that you've been spending a little more time on?
I have been spending a little more time on guitar this year because I tend to be a lazy guitar player. I will basically, sorry, my dog is knocking things over. I left something open and he is helping himself to the counter. But I've been working on my guitar playing a little bit this year just because it doesn't come super naturally to me the way that singing and songwriting does. I'm a lazy guitar player, like I was saying. So a lot of times I'll play the minimum amount that I can get away with. So I'll like work on a song and be like, nah, that song's good enough. Like it does the job. Instead of like, you know, working to focus on it more. So yeah, I've been working on guitar, working on piano a little bit.
Now, what kind of goal setting do you have for the single and for the rest of 2021 as well?
Yeah, so I am hoping that the single continues to be well received by fans and radio. I'm very lucky that a lot of radio stations are picking it up and playing it. I'm just so thankful that people like what I'm doing and like the sound that I have. And then the rest of this year, I have actually recorded more songs that I'm planning on putting out. So those will be coming out over the next year, and then hopefully an EP in the near future as well with 6 or 7 songs on it.
That's cool. Well,
yeah.
Mary Heather Hickman, I want to make sure and let our listeners know where to keep up with not only the new single, but upcoming releases and opportunities to see you live in person when those come as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people can go to my website. It's just maryheatherhickman.com. I keep my shows up to date on there, and all of my social media is linked. So Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, which is another big one.
Who saw that coming and having the impact on country music of all genres?
So weird. I didn't even think, I mean, when I heard about TikTok, I thought it was like an app where people were like making up dances, or, you know, not people because I'm 25. I was like, I'm too old for this app. And then I had a couple friends that are in Nashville that are like, no, like I've actually met a lot of here. I'm building a fan base that I never would have reached otherwise. So I started posting, and then, you know, with Treasure, it picked up some steam. I think it's at almost 3 million views now.
Wow.
And like, it has allowed me to meet people, are like, have my music be listened to by people that I don't think would have heard it otherwise from me just playing shows. So it's been a weird thing, but definitely I'm super grateful for it. So.
Well, Mary, it has been great to visit with you today. I appreciate you taking some time to be on the show, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Now, if one of the skills you wish you could put on your resume is really good at taking breaks, well, this is the time you might actually want to say that. A coffee company called Chameleon is planning to hire 2 people for $3,000 each to take more coffee breaks. Now, if you want a shot, you can enter on their website by May 31st. They're going to pick 2 people who will get $3,000 each and 10 cases of cold brew bottles. Now, they say they were inspired to run the contest after they found that 2/3 of people who are working from home say they take the same number of coffee breaks or even fewer than they used to, even though they're working longer hours. The Ghost Brothers. We've got Marcus, Harvey, and Juwan Mass on with us talking about the new series Ghost Brothers Lights Out, which is available on Discovery Plus. And first off, Marcus and Juwan, thank you guys so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good to be back, man.
Marcus, tell our listeners a little bit about the premise behind the new series, Ghost Brothers Lights Out.
This one is kind of taking it back to our roots, as far as like our original way of investigating, going into some like the most scariest type of like insane asylum lighthouses, like battleships. And me and Juwan actually go in first to do a preliminary investigation while Dalen tries to guide us through and give us hints on what's happening in that space. So this one's just back to the old school. It's some dirty, low down, crazy spots that might be haunted.
Now, Juwan, how did you guys end up being the ones going out there and doing the blind run through? I mean, didn't get the better straw? How did that happen?
You know, we typically do something like I like to call rock, paper, scissors, but no. Honestly, it was. I think it was just a group decision. It's kind of like we're gonna let because Dalen does go in. It's just the initial investigation is one that Marcus and I are blind for, because Dalen has the information, has the research, and knows the location.
And so it's like, I'm going to keep this from these guys, but I'm going to allow them to go in and see if they can pick up any evidence that speaks to the story. And it's really, it's an interesting way to start, I'll tell you that.
Now, obviously, the series started streaming this past Saturday, and Marcus, what's it like to get the feedback as the new series rolls out?
It's been amazing because, you know, our fans have been with us through the pandemic. Me, Dalen, and Juwan were doing a thing called Ghost Brothers to Chill while the pandemic was going on, which allowed us to have a very, very dope in touch, like fan base, so we can actually see exactly what we wanted to do for the next season. And so this new season is literally just a homage to everything that they've given us, like what they wanted to see and all those things. So yeah, we're just excited about it, man. So we're lit.
Now, Juwan, have you noticed since folks have been spending more time at home and alone, are you guys getting more requests of folks saying they think their house is all of a sudden haunted?
Man, I would say yes. Like, I think people were like, they're having these experiences, and they're like, who are we gonna call? The Ghost Brothers. And so, like, the fact that we did Ghost Brothers Haunted House Guests in the past is like, and that really just opened the door for people to be like, hey, can you come investigate our home? And now that they've been at home for over a year, it's just a no-brainer for them to just reach out and ask us. And even if we can't come, like, they're like, you got any advice?
That's cool. Now, Marcus, how did you first get into ghost hunting? I mean, was it something that you've always been interested in, or was it maybe more of a dare that got you into it?
I just think we always wanted to do, like, stuff that was adventurous, and we've always been daring. So, when Dalen and Juwan approached me about this, I mean, they were daring, so I was daring, so we all just got down to it. So, I mean, I think that's what's dope about the whole show, that, we just kind of push the limits.
Now, Juwan, do you think in the time that you guys had away during the pandemic, do you think, what kind of inspiration did it give you for the new series?
Man, to be honest, like, we filmed during the pandemic. So, like, it was a good time for us to kind of, like, disconnect from, I guess you can say, these haunted locations. And then when we got back into it, man, everything just seemed like it was almost a shock. Like, we had been away for so long that, like, we weren't ready for what we were about to walk into. Those locations were something that were like a shock to our emotions. I mean, there's a lot of jump scares. There's a lot of random screams and terrifying experiences that, like, I wouldn't say that we would have been as susceptible to had we had been on the road, just hitting haunted spots on a consistent basis and not taking that little hiatus that we had. We were kind of getting so used to our family homes, and then to have to get that shock to the system to go back into, that situation is like, wow.
Now, Marcus, how cool is it to see after you guys go in, Dalen's already been in, hasn't told you guys anything, but whenever you guys go through and see some of the same things that maybe he had picked out, does that kind of solidify everything you guys are going after as well?
Well, normally Dalen gets some information about, like, the story, and he really just looks at a map to kind of direct us. So it's kind of like he has a bird's eye view, but he still himself has to get the answers. So it's just, I think it works really good to just have that type of concept going on, that we can kind of move, readily through that type of process. And it has actually gained a lot of results because, like, he does know certain things. So, like, when me and Juwan hit on a specific name or a specific person, he's like, oh, you guys are warm. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that actual influence, you know what I'm saying, making sure that everything is actually confirming each other. Like, our equipment, the story, everything is lining up with us as they're even trying,
Now, of course, new episodes coming out each Saturday, and coming up this week, we've got Cross My Heart. And Juwan wanted to give our listeners just a little insight into what they're going to see this Saturday.
This Saturday, you guys are in for a real treat. I think this Saturday is going to be one of those that has some spooky moments, some funny moments. They're going to see probably a little banter between the three of us, of a little disagreement. Like, it's always good when you can see those authentic authentic arguments, right? Where you're like, oh, those are real friends just having a little rift before they have to make a tough decision. You guys would be open to that chemistry for sure. Yeah, I know y'all probably do it every morning before y'all get on the air. We're not going to talk about that again. So that's how we are. Like, right.
That's exactly right. Now, Marcus and Juwan, of course, we want to let folks know where they can find more information and also the socials. Marcus, I'll let you go first.
You can find, actually, shouts out to Dalen. He wasn't able to make it on this call, but Dalen is actually getting married this week, so you can follow him and all of his celebration this week at his page at Dalen Spratt on Instagram and all the social media. I'm the Marcus Harvey, THE Marcus Harvey. You can go check me out on Instagram, Facebook, all those places. And Juwan, the Paranormal Poppy, tell them where they can find you at, Playboy. Yes. Appreciate that, Marcus. It's my first and last name on all social media platforms. It's Juwan Mass, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. By all means, follow us, like our messages, comment, share our posts. We interact, so we'd love for you guys to reach out to us. Also, you can follow us, straightghosting.com. We'll have merch, but we'll also have information on events that we're doing throughout the year. So please stick with the Ghost Brothers.
There you go. Well, Marcus and Juwan, always great to visit with you guys. Appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule, and hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Bless y'all, man. Amazing time. Great conversation, guys. Thank you.
Well, someone asked people to name the things in dating profiles that are immediate turnoffs. And here are a few decent ones that I've found. Number 1, having no bio at all. It ruins your chances because people don't know what you have in common or how to start a conversation with you. Number 2, listing requirements that have to do with looks, like height and weight. Now, even if someone fits their requirements, being too superficial can be a turnoff. Number 3, the line, "Don't waste my time." Now, it makes you sound irritated before they've even had a chance to talk to you. Number 4, photos where you're flipping off the camera. Now, it's pretty common because people think they look fun or cool, but it's kind of like flipping off your potential matches. Number 5, long rants about the type of person you don't want to date. Now, it's more attractive if you're positive and focus on the things that you do want. Number 6, overuse cliches. Things like, "I'm fluent in sarcasm," "I don't like drama," or "I'm looking for a partner in crime." And number 7, quotes from the show The Office, or anything else that's too mainstream. Now, it's okay if it's something more obscure, though. Our next guest on the podcast, I was sent a link to a YouTube video, I believe it was last week, maybe the week before, and I made it through, like I mentioned to him earlier, made it through the first chorus before I was texting and saying, we got to get this guy on the show. We've got Mark Nicholson on with us, and first off, Mark, thanks for taking the time to visit.
Very happy to be here, Cameron. Thanks for having me.
Now, Mark, tell us, where did music come from for you? And we'll delve into the sound here in a little bit. But where did your first musical inspirations come?
I grew up in Western Virginia in the Appalachian Mountains. And, early on, I remember in particular, my older brother had an Alabama cassette. And I remember really thinking like, man, that's pretty cool. And as I grew up, there's a lot of bluegrass around. And, I dived into pretty much everything from rock and roll all the way to bluegrass and all points in between.
Now, the sound, when did you start getting into the instrumentation and performing yourself?
I was probably in my first band when I was about 15 years old. And, there's some good mentors around. Jimmy Fortune from the Statler Brothers, actually, when I was young, man, he was really helpful and being like, you're going to have to work real hard if you want to try to do this. And that really helped because, sometimes in a small town, you're like, oh, man, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, big fish in a small pond, right?
And he was so right about that. It's like you just have to, work so hard to do the music thing.
Now, for you, where did your stretching of your wings a little bit? When did that happen? How long has the road been? I guess I should say, from there to where we're at today.
Man, it's been a long road. Got out of school and I was just working, playing music on the weekends, and it wasn't until I was probably about 30 years old that I moved out to the country. I was living in a cabin and I just started playing guitar 10 hours a day. And those couple years, that was probably what really pulled me up, to the level that I needed to be at. And, I played 1,000 barroom gigs, and, you just never know when you might get that opportunity, and somebody from Jordache Records heard me playing in a bar, and we started working on the single you heard.
Now, tell us what it was like to get in studio for a single release. Obviously, it was what your goal was starting out doing music, and to actually have that opportunity. What were your butterflies like the first time heading into that studio?
Yeah, butterflies is a good description. The Nashville, Tennessee, it's like you have tremendous players that are able to get those, there's probably like 4 or 5 guitar players that do all the sessions for the Nashville stuff coming out. And just being around those guys, I felt like, whoa, I'm around some great stuff. And, that first session in particular, I kind of felt like I was singing from a live, and that's a good thing. I hope I never really lose that,
Now, what kind of pressure do you put on yourself as you see the release going out and truly be as genuine as you can to your own sound, if you will?
Well, so far with the single, it's doing good, but it's a long climb up to like the Billboard. We're doing good on New Music Weekly, and we charted on Music Row. So, I'm not so worried about that right now. I figure, I kind of feel like I identify more with like the Waylon and Willie and Hank Jr. kind of element of country music. So, I don't think I have a lot of pressure to change up what I'm doing. Maybe if somebody was, to get me and like, hey, we want you to do this, I'd have to, think about it. But, I don't think there's Nashville, the big corporate record labels. I doubt they're looking for what I'm doing, So I think you really got to just do your thing. And if people like it, then it's, that's a big blessing.
That's cool. Now, we talked a little bit earlier about your sound, and obviously you've got a touch of classic rock feel to it as well. And I can hear who the influence is. Tell our listeners, if they can't pick it out, who the biggest influences vocally for you are.
Well, right now, Chris Stapleton's huge. He opened doors in Nashville that I think may really allow someone like me to squeak through, and Bob Seger is a huge influence. And then, on the country side of things, Waylon Jennings, and just his presence and delivery. And I really like some of the new guys like Sturgill Simpson, how his presence when he sings.
Now, speaking of a little singing, I know that you got your guitar there with you today. You willing to play something for our listeners? Let them give them a little introduction.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and play "Natural Born Lover," the single, and I'm happy to be on here getting a chance to do
it. There you go.
Even after all this time, your love music gets me high. soul. I can't see light shine from your soul. That light's all we have. Don't let it go. Your natural born lover, you keep it undercover. Baby, let your love light shine. Your natural born lover, one way or another, we got to lay it on the line. Baby, let your love light shine. Oh, baby, let your love light shine. Your natural born lover, you keep it undercover. Baby, let your love light shine. Your natural born lover, one way or another, we got to lay it on the line. So baby, let your love light shine. Oh baby, let your love light shine. Yeah.
That's good stuff, brother. That's good stuff.
Well, thank you.
Now, where do you find your inspiration songwriting wise? Where does that come from you? And how hard or easy has it been over the last 12 months?
Well, I tell you, the more country I'm writing, the easier it is. I've been in rock bands over the years, and I love playing rock and roll, but it was never real easy for me to write. It always felt like a struggle. And, country music just seems to flow for me. And, I have a lot of different influences on the writing side of things. I really like Blackberry Smoke right now. Charlie Starr and Chris Stapleton, is huge. And, like I said, the whole outlaw country movement, Willie Whalen and Hank Jr., all that stuff.
Now, what's the toughest part of the writing process? Is it finding the idea, or is it maybe the opposite, where you can't say, okay, done? Which of those is harder for you?
For me, getting that initial idea that sticks, something like when a song comes, it's for real, it. And that can be hard, just getting that initial idea. Once you have that, you can run with it. And sometimes you got to go, a while before you latch on to one.
How was it for you to get used to the Zoom meetings, the Zoom writes, the co-writes like that? And how much have you had to adjust your writing style because of it?
Well, man, I pretty much write by myself right now. I'd be open to co-writes. I'd like to do it. But I have my own kind of method where I just hold up and I usually find a melody. I find a chord progression, and then I just start singing anything till a line emerges that I'm like, okay, that's it, So, honestly, this is my first sing call ever. I'm just playing borderlands, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to figure this out.
Now coming around, how hard is it to try to get into the social media side of things to get things out? Because especially the times we're living in, that's about all a lot of the new artists have to get the word out.
Yeah, it's helpful. I don't feel like I'm maybe the best at it. I feel like I have to get my stepkids in and be like, here, what should I do, y'all? Y'all know this kind of thing. But, it's helpful, and it's amazing what you can do now with technology to get music out. I'm a fan of it. And, like with the label, they're going to have somebody help them with the social media side of things, and that never hurt.
Yeah, I know, right? Now, if folks want to keep up with future releases, upcoming appearances, single music as well, where's the best place for folks to keep up? Is it the website? Probably has everything located there centralized, right?
Yep, marknicholsonofficial.com, and I got a Facebook page, Mark Nicholson Official, and just come by the website. It'll link you to everything that's going on.
All right. Well, Mark, it's been great to visit with you today, man. I had to hear that voice firsthand. I appreciate you letting me have that happen.
Well, man, I appreciate you, Cameron. I'm really glad to be on here, and hit me back up sometime. We'll do it again.
Well, thanks again for joining us for this 65th episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, question, anything else you'd like to know, you can hit me up on the contact page at gqwithcam.com. Also, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at gqwithcam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, visit our merch store. We've got hoodies, mugs, tumblers, shirts, stickers, and more. gqwithcam.com/shop. Of course, if you have a special guest idea, email me gqwithcam@gmail.com. Well, thanks again to Brandon Allen. Coming up with our theme music, we're going to let him play us out. Hope you guys have a great Tuesday evening.